It's that time of the year. NEAF is about to start in New York in a few hours. I'm stuck here in Tokyo and I'm trying to follow up on what new products are being announced. Obviously, there's been a lot of announcements. ZW in particular has made quite a splash, and I do believe that none of our wallets will escape unscathed. And so I want to quickly touch upon my thoughts on some of the new products being announced, starting with ZW. And in this video, I will focus solely on the products themselves and how they can be used by us amateur photographers to achieve better results in a hopefully lazier and less frustrating manner. Let's start with ZW, and this on the screen is the list of products that they've announced for NEAF. It's quite a lot of products, and there's a few products that I did not expect, such as this one, that one, or that one. But let's go through the details one by one, from the product that I'm the, let's say, least excited about to the product that I'm the most excited about from ZW. You will notice that there is no field rotator in there, which has been a big ask from ZW, especially from ZW ASI Air users, because the ASI Air does not support non-ZW rotators, and there are no ZW rotators. The good news is we've seen one on a live stream. They're definitely working on it, the camera angle adapter, and at some point it will get released. By the way, if you're interested in any of the products, if you feel they can work for your workflow, I'll put all of the links down in the description. Let's start with the ASI Air Plus that now comes in two versions, the 32GB storage version and the 256GB storage version, with faster storage for faster image storing, and also faster video. This is good. Not super exciting for me since I'm using Nina anyway, and my main cameras and my guide camera also are not ZW. So this is the least exciting part for me, but I understand why some people could be hyped about this, because it can't be denied that the ASI Air has really made astrophotography for the masses even easier than before. And it's really kind of like changed the face of astrophotography, despite the currently walled garden or walled kind of ecosystem that the ASI Air fosters. And of course, it should always be remembered that the ASI Air is possible because ZW stood on the shoulder of giants with tons of open source projects that served as the building block for this product. Okay, let's look at the next announcement from ZW. We have a few telescopes, the FF series, and they're basically the same as the ASTROPHOTO telescopes. Here you have the 107 PHQ, which here it is. From one of the comments that I saw by ZW on Facebook, it is indeed in partnership with Sharpstar / ASTROPHOTO that those telescopes are made. So this is for people who like the color red to go with their red cameras and their red ASI Air versus the green that we have on the ASTROPHOTO version. So yeah, not super exciting. It's a product that already exists effectively. Where things get a little more interesting is the ZW ASI 2600 MC Duo. And yes, as its name would imply, with Duo, we do have a dual sensor, with the main imaging sensor being the same as the current ZW ASI 2600 MC camera, as an APS-C IMX571 sensor. Excellent sensor, by the way. And they've enabled the full well depth as well mode, which is, by the way, also available for Toyub Tech or Rising cameras in the latest versions of Nina. The secondary sensor that we see here will be used for guiding, on-axis guiding, and it is the same sensor that is used in the guide camera, the ZW ASI 220. It's an excellent sensor, and for those who are used to just having a separate guide scope and guide camera, the way that this works is simply your telescope has an imaging circle that is in effect much larger than your camera sensor most of the time. The imaging circle the stars might get more and more oblong or comet shaped as it goes away from the center. But for guiding, you don't need perfect star shapes, so you can make do with a sensor that is away from the center of the imaging circle of your telescope. If it still receives light, it can still perceive stars, and those stars can be used to guide on. And because you're guiding through the main telescope effectively. You're guiding at the same focal length, and you avoid issues like flexure that can happen with a guide scope, and you can get also overall better quality guiding. This is the same that you can achieve with an off-axis guider that uses a little prism to divert the light from the imaging circle of your telescope up to a guide camera. But now you have like one less cable, one less accessory in your optical path that eats up back focus to worry about. So this is on the face of it a great idea. It's an idea that is not new by any means. It's been used by SBIG before, but nowadays with CMOS sensors, very sensitive CMOS sensors, I think it becomes a bit more realistic. Apparently ZW has tested this with narrowband filters, 7 nanometer wides band passes. I'm not sure whether it's going to work super well with 5 nanometer or even 3 nanometer band passes like the Optolong L Ultimate. Another issue that I can think of is simply the fact that if you're going to use long focal length, let's say you're using a Schmidt-Cassegrain, an Edge HD telescope, for instance, to do imaging, and with such a guiding chip that is outside of the main imaging sensor, sometimes it's actually difficult to find a guide star that is sufficiently bright to lock onto. And so with an off-axis guider, you can actually rotate the off-axis guider while leaving the main camera sensor to the rotation that you need for the framing that you desire. With such a camera, you're linking both. So if you need to rotate the on-axis guider, that guiding chip, to find a guide star, then you will also be rotating your main camera sensor, which can be an issue in terms of framing. So I do think that such a solution probably, I mean, in my opinion, might have been more adapted to a sensor like the 533 MC to start with. Simply because it's a smaller sensor and it's square, so it cares much less about its rotation angle than a traditional sensor like the one that we have in the 2600 MC. Plus, in that case, you'd be able to fit a larger imaging chip, and you could also have it closer to the center of the imaging circle of the telescope. So I think it's going to be great, but we may run into issues with high focal length telescope, with dual band, narrow band imaging, that kind of stuff. So wait and see. I do like that some of the details they provided in videos is there's this little knob here at the top of the camera, and apparently it's used to adjust the focus of the guiding chip of the camera. Another thing I'm wondering is the guide chip of that camera cooled? It's a small thing, but I hope it is, because even with short exposures, because you keep taking short exposures throughout the night, the temperature of your guiding sensor, of your guide chip, actually gets fairly high. So you get thermal noise, and it's not a lot, but it's there, and less thermal noise. It's still like an improvement. I don't know if it's worth it or not, but if it's possible, if they can extend one of the cold fingers to be under the guide chip, even better. I also noticed that if you order NAR, it comes with this optional tilt adjustment, which can be done from the rear of the camera rather than from the front. Thank you. And in there, as far as I can tell, ZW has taken inspiration from the Player One camera series. They were the first ones where I saw this innovation on. And those little Player One cameras, they've made quite a splash, and I've seen them featured on my friend Luke's channel, Lucomatico, and they look quite good. I've actually been interested in looking at them. Now, after this interesting camera setup, and wait and see, I'm really looking forward to seeing how well it works. Let's go to the ZW AM3, which is another strain wave gear, also known as harmonic drive type of mount. It's basically a small AM5. So as you know, I've been testing the AM5 on the channel. I actually ended up buying it from ZW. I'll be using it as my portable mount, but if I had known that this was coming, I might not have bought the AM5 and I might have gone with the AM3. The AM3 apparently will be sold for around $1,500 US dollars without the tripod. So it's a bit more expensive than I hoped for. And I don't know. It's like it's an interesting mount. It kind of shows that for now there is a bright future for strain wave gear mounts in astrophotography. It will be interesting to see the performance of the mount, and also with how much it's been reduced in size, how easy it will do to do like the polar adjustments, for instance. But overall, based on my impressions of the AM5, I expect good things of the AM3 as well. And also apparently the AM3 has Bluetooth, so you can control it via Bluetooth, which can be also really neat, so you don't need to disconnect from your home Wi-Fi network or that kind of stuff. I also like how on the product page there is this random image of a blurred out Ioptron SEM60 mount. I don't know what that is for. It's the mount that I use and love. I love my SEM60. I still prefer it to the AM5, except in terms of portability. For a permanent mount or even a portable mount, it's amazing. But yeah, interesting. And let's go to the final one from ZW, and this is probably the one that I am the most excited about, while also being the one that I saw the most backlash to on the Facebook announcement of it. This is the C-Star S50, which is a smart telescope. It's an all-in-one alt azimuth smart telescope that you can control to your smartphone. And in that respect, it's very similar to the Dwarf Lab Dwarf 2 that I have been testing and reviewing on the channel. And I really, really enjoy, because I do believe that those little smart telescopes, especially for the price, look at this crazy price, can be a great entry point to astronomy, astrophotography, because they do live stacking. And at least for the dwarf telescope, it also saves the raw files, the FITS files, for me to be able to process later. I've done a whole video about start to finish taking and processing images with the Dwarf Lab Dwarf 2. I'll put the link up above, and it should apply, hopefully, if it saves the image in a FITS format and we can retrieve them. I hope it's the case. But if it does, it should apply to the C-Star S50. The C-Star S50 is a bit bigger than and heavier than the Dwarf Lab. So for me, I still prefer this form factor, simply because I want to take this hiking, but I am sure that the C-Star from ZW will have the upper hand in terms of software and in terms of also optical quality. And I'm really, really hyped about this to see how well it could perform for such a low price. In like dark sites, because this is an item that you can truly transport on vacation. It's, you know, one-stop shop. It does everything, just like the Dwarf 2. And yeah, well, I'm very excited about it. I really want to get my hands on it once it gets released. So fingers crossed that I can test it. I think this can be another game changer for introduction to astrophotography. And yeah, I'll see. Fingers crossed. Okay, and we're done with the ZW product announcements. It's quite a lot, and yeah, I think a lot of people's wallets will suffer. Again, links all in the description. But don't stay blind, don't look just at ZW. There are tons of other companies innovating in the space. I mean, there's this Dwarf Lab thing, there's Player One astrophotography cameras, there's Ioptron mounts that in the last 10 years have truly made a difference in the hobby. There's lots of cool stuff from Skywatcher, and there is also Sharpstar that's really been bringing refracting telescopes, high quality refracting telescopes, not quite Takahashi quality, but still high quality telescopes to the masses. Obviously, the Sharpstar V, or Sharpstar 5, I think it's V, is being tested by yours truly. I have already tested the optics. The results are on my Patreon page already. So if you are in a hurry to check the optical results of this telescope in all of its 6 configurations, you can go in, check the link in the description to subscribe to my Patreon and check that out. Of course, I have the raw frames as well. This telescope is a modular refractor. It has an 80mm objective lens that is interchangeable, swappable to a 60mm lens if you need more portability or less field of view with a faster focal ratio. It comes like in this whole package with 3 back elements. There's a reducer slash flattener, there is an extender slash flattener, and there is a pure flattener to achieve a range of 6 different configurations for astrophotography, in addition of 2 configurations for visual, because you can use it visually with either the 80mm lens, objective lens, or the 60mm objective lens. It's a really cool scope. Obviously, it will live or die depending on its optics. The results will be on YouTube in the next few days, on Patreon already. And it costs $1,695. Honestly, with all of those accessories, I would have believed it would cost more. So this is a really good price depending on the optical quality. Anyway, this is one of the other things that is being released. We also have the Sharpstar 61 EDPH3. As longtime viewers of the channel know, I had the second version of that scope. I really like that second version, although I did find an issue with the objective lens, but talking with Sharpstar about it, they put on very swiftly a replacement program for the objective lens that was able to check that it solved the issue. And that's one of the things I'm really happy and proud of, being able to help Sharpstar and the community who had bought the telescopes get like better results out of them. So that was awesome. Some of the difference that I see on the EDPH3, which is an evolution more than a revolution, but it comes with a nice dovetail bar. Yes, the version 2 came with just the foot, which was not enough. Also, the dew shield has a locking screw, which is super nice. The older one had a tendency of like kind of floating around, so that was not as good. And we also have a rotator integrated, which is awesome. It really makes a small package that is really amazing. In a way, it's actually very close to the Ascar V with the 60mm lens mode. It's kind of its little cousin, as far as I can tell. And one of the other differences with the previous version is that, as far as I remember, the previous version came only with a reducer / flattener. This one comes with both a flattener, as you can see here, but also a reducer, both of which are supposed to be supporting full frame cameras. And the reducer is also a flattener at the same time, of course. And with the reducer, we get to a focal ratio of f4.4. The native focal ratio with the flattener is f4.9. So really fast scope, even slightly faster than the old version. And there's not just that, we have other companies. We have Antlia. You know that I use Antlia filters. I also use Altair Astro filters, but that's going to be an upcoming video. But you know that I use Antlia filters, and I do think that they have made a really good sweet spot in terms of filter quality versus price. Because as you know, I've bought a spectrometer just to be able to check astrophotography filters, and I did not like what I see at all. Antlia, though, in terms of at least of their bandpass placements, all of the filters that I've tested from them actually performed up to spec, which was as expected. Some have had issues with halos, which I know a lot of you guys hate, but still, Antlia, I think, has been like really innovating in terms of price quality ratio in the space. Before that, in terms of high quality narrowband filters, really we had Chroma and Astrodon, like for the top of the line, and then like lower down the line there was Optolong, and now we have like Antlia kind of in the middle and striving and also almost achieving the quality of Astrodon and Chroma, which is really amazing for the prices. And for this NIF, they've announced another wallet killer, which is a series of filters, H-alpha, oxygen 3, and sulfur 2, with all of them very high transmission, and it looks like also extremely well placed flat top band passes that are 2.8 nanometer wide, even better than the best filters that I've seen in the space. So yeah, that's good. It's still like it's only 0.2 nanometer better than competitors, but in a super light polluted city like Tokyo, it could make a whole difference. For now, I'm resisting the need to buy those filters because fortunately I don't currently have a monochrome camera. Whew, safe. So yeah, Antlia, don't try to release a dual band 2.8 nanometer filter. Don't do it. Don't do it. Of course, there's tons of other brands, new products. There is the ever enthusiastic and charismatic Filippo from Prima Luce, who unveiled some really cool products for the Edge HD, for instance. But for this video, I'll stay with that for now. So, how will your wallet suffer this time around? Will you try to resist the temptation of the ring? Let us know down in the comments. I'll be super interested to see. Lots of innovation, lots of new stuff, lots of fun, lots of being beaten up by your CFO. Enjoy the season. I'll be very interested in looking at your opinions down below. It's actually super important for me to look at the opinions of everyone because I cannot just be using my own criteria to test products. I have to test just the criteria that are important for you guys. And so I always look at all of the comments and feedback to see really what is important. So at least I can check it and mention it in my reviews. So always super appreciated, super important. It helps me make better reviews, reviews for you to make better decisions. While you're on your way down to commenting, like the video, subscribe, maybe even join the channel, or if you're feeling super generous, you can join my Patreon as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget whenever you can to look up at the stars, and I'll see you next time.